wonderful Dr. Travis Mitchell, who's joining us all the way from South Africa. Dr. Travis, thank you so much for joining us.
It is such a pleasure. And I got to just say, Dr. Ken, man, I've been in practice as a chiropractor for 17 years. And I just listen to you and I just go, wow, man, I've just got so much to learn. And I'm so grateful that there are chiropractors in this world that are like who you are. And I'm sad that I'm not in person with you. I would love to, I'd love to give you a hug. I'd love to spend some time with you. I know that, you know, this is the new way currently, but yeah, your message is beautiful. And I just thank you from my heart. You know, in terms of getting me to be able to start my presentation, you just helped me so much just to move into that space of being able to share something. So I'm actually quite emotional now for what you shared. So I just say thank you. I do hope to meet, you know, in person, everybody else. And Joe, I mean, you know, we chatted maybe a couple of months ago. And, you know, we had a great connection. I've never got to meet you in person. And you sort of sent me a message saying you want me to come and speak. So, man, I just got to say, I'm so grateful. Thank you very much. And I wish all the success to the movie. I have watched the, what's it called? The preview. I haven't got to watch the movie yet. It's on my to-do list. I'm 1 week away from closing my practice for the end of the year. And then I go on a 3-week holiday with my family, and I'll be certainly watching the movie over that time. And then I'll give you all, you know, feedback, you know, in the new year. So thank you very much. I just want to start a sort of time so that I know that I don't speak too much. And obviously, if I'm speaking way too much, just say, move along, move along, move along. So first, welcome. My practice is called Aspire Happiness. And really, I want to inspire everyone to your own level of happiness. And hopefully what you notice is I spell happiness with a Y. And the reason is the happiness with a Y distinguishes this happiness as a much greater level of happiness rather than the transient emotional eating chocolate, you know, thrush of neurochemistry. We want to find something that is sustainable. And during this chat, I'm going to, hang on a second, why is my screen not moving? There we go. And during this chat, I'm going to take you through a journey. Number one, identifying that your current problems is not your endpoint. Number two, your body can certainly heal itself. And number three, the problems that you're currently dealing with can certainly show you what your potential is. So in my office as a chiropractor, and Dr. Ken, hopefully you can attest to this, is we see people in pain every single day. And when people come to see us in pain, one of my start out questions to you is the purpose of life to be without pain? And hopefully you can agree with me that the purpose of life is not just being without pain. So if the purpose of life is not just being without pain, how do we move you in that direction? But this is where your conscious choice comes in place. And I would want you today to have a moment for yourself, whether that is the first speaker that talks to you or in the last second of today's presentations, that somewhere you have a conscious moment. And that conscious moment means, like this tree here, that in the midst of the hardship, when I was walking on a holiday recently, I saw this tree. And as you can see, this tree has made his house in the middle of the rocks. And I just thought, can you imagine this poor little seed falling onto the rock and then trying to bury its way into the rocks to be able to start its life? And I want you to have that conscious moment, no matter how difficult your challenges are. I want you to have a conscious moment that says, you know what? I'm not going to fall because I'm basing my life on a foundation of rocks. So let's dive in. Let's dive in. When we talk about problems. A lot of people come to see me with chronic pain. And when we're talking about chronic pain, I'm talking about physical pain, emotional pain, mental, chemical, spiritual pain. And when we talk about chronicity, this is something that is there as a continuous. It's there for long periods of time. It frequently reoccurs. And eventually, you actually have a habit of having problems. And when we talk about chronicity, I want you to know that this has a massive impact in this world. You know, we've now been brought into this wonderful new word called COVID, and now there's another thing called long COVID. You know, they haven't even gone in to make it sound pretty. It's long COVID. This is like a long, bad marriage that you're going to have. And when we talk about chronicity, unfortunately, it is the #1 cause of disability. More than 1 in 5 Americans are in chronic pain. In some countries in the world, more than 50% of the population are in pain. It has a huge financial burden on the person. It has a huge financial burden on the family. It has a huge financial burden on the country. And this is where we're sitting. But I want you to know that this current problem that you're in is not your endpoint. So in my office, we start with this beautiful truth. And it's not about your pain that is bringing you to the doctor. It's about you seeking hope in the doctor that we can restore the lost quality of life. And I want to tell you that no matter who you go to, make this your pursuit, that you're seeking hope, and that you're seeking the restoration of your quality of life. Because at the end of the day, chronic pain impacts, and it impacts everything. It impacts your biological, psychological, social quality of life. How does your work go? How does your school go? Daily activities, even wiping your backside is painful. You can't do your hobbies. You can't clean. You don't have energy. You don't have strength. You get out of bed every morning and you feel like an old man. I mean, Dr. Ken, you said that you get up and you limber up. I mean, there's people that have morning stiffness. Now, there's 2 types of morning stiffness. There's a morning stiffness as a male when you're 20, and that's great. And there's morning stiffness when you're 60, and that's not the morning stiffness that you want to have. And so really, we want to get to this place where we say, this is not how life is supposed to be. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey. I was chronic asthmatic from the time I was 3 years of age. I had, moments where, and my brother used to enjoy giving me a fright because of my asthma. My autonomic nervous system would shut my breathing down and I'd pass out. And I was on lots of cortisone treatments. And unfortunately, the cortisone didn't make me big and strong. You know, I kept saying to my mom, is this steroids like the guys that get big muscles? And my mom said, no, it's not. And so I was, underdeveloped, and that made me really sickly. And sort of in late primary school, early high school, I had irritable bowel, so much so that every bowel motion was absolute agony. I remember sitting, holding onto my ankles and having a bowel motion just because it was so painful, and I couldn't hold a fart in. So I'd be at school, and in high school, kids are fun. You know, if you fart, then you're the brunt of jokes. So I would just have no friends, and I was a complete introvert. And that irritable bowel got to a point where I had graduated as a chiropractor, and I was on the way to being clinically depressed. And for me, this chronic situation, and I remember clearly to this day, I sat in a car with a friend of mine in Dubai, and he's still a friend of mine today. And I was crying. I don't know why I was driving the car, but I was crying. And I said, this is not how life is supposed to be. And hopefully, if you're on this call or you're on this talk or you're watching, that you can say, I recognize that moment somewhere in my life that this is not how life is supposed to be. And my friend looked at me and he said, well, then how is life supposed to be? And I said, I don't know. And then he said to me, well, stop complaining, because all I hear, and he got out a violin and He said, all I hear all day long is wah, 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 wah. So he said, stop complaining. And I mean, I was like flabbergasted. I was wanting sympathy. I wanted my ego to be stroked and say, don't worry, baby, it's going to be okay. And I said, man, and I really, yeah, but I'm so grateful for that defining moment. And so I ask you today, what's the purpose of your problems? And I can tell you that these moments that I've had has brought me to a place today where the purpose of my problems is to be able to sit with somebody in my office. As a chiropractor, I'm here to get people out of pain. But more than that, the purpose of my problem is to sit with somebody and cry with them and laugh with them and tell them that I know what you're feeling. That's the purpose of my problems. But what's the purpose of your problems? You might have struggled in some or other direction. And I'm telling you that that struggle that you have, somebody else has got. And so the purpose of your problems is to build this connection between two people. And to build this connection between two people means that today you can help somebody. I'm not saying that the purpose of your problem is for you to suffer. No, but it allows you to connect with somebody and say, you know what? I know what you're going through. And so really that is a massive point that I want to push home, that there is a purpose to your problems. In terms of psychological understandings, there's a wonderful conversation called the stages of competence. And so we have the first stage of competence, which is called unconscious incompetence. And I'll tell you, this is a blissful place. There's a lot of people that aren't in pain, but have problems, and they're on the way to being in pain, but they're in a blissful place. You know, they think life is peachy. And they're just going on and they're ticking boxes and they're doing what they're doing. And all of a sudden, they're consciously incompetent. They recognize that they have pain. They have a chronicity. They have this reoccurring issue that suddenly, bam, wakes them up one Sunday morning. And now you're conscious of it. But the incompetence part means you have no idea about it. And what I hope is in the next stage, you come to a place where you consciously recognize what it's going to take in order to get you better. And if you do that well enough and you have people that work with you long enough, eventually you get to an unconscious competent place. And, you know, listening to Dr. Ken, you know, you can just feel that energy of that unconscious competence, that connection, that beautiful place that we want to be in. So let me make certain that you understand this. The body can heal itself provided two things. The body can heal itself provided two things. I'm going to pause for a moment and just give you some background. This is in Cape Town. If you've never been to South Africa, you got to go. There's a place called Signal Hill, which is I'm standing on Signal Hill. There is the sunset over there. And here is what's called Lion's Head. And behind Lion's Head, across there is a whole range of mountains. It's the 12 Apostles. And here is the famous Table Mountain. It's one of my most beautiful places. If you go there when it's windy, you're going to get blown off. So don't do that. You want to go there when the sun is shining. And as you can see, there's just no wind happening. And you can sit on top of that and just have a beautiful sunset and just experience the magnificence of God's world. So if there's this magnificence here, well, then you have to know that there's magnificence inside. And that is that the body can heal itself, provided two things. Number one, there is no interference. Where are you interfering with your body's maximum potential? Where are you interfering with God's purpose for you? And once you identify where your interferences are, then you can start to give it what it requires. And what I want you to do is I want you to acknowledge today where your interferences are. I want you to acknowledge today what is holding you back. That's the consciousness that I want you to get to. so that from tomorrow you can set up a morning ritual. I can guarantee all the speakers that are on this, every person that's on that wonderful movie has a morning and an evening ritual, and maybe a lunchtime ritual. And so you can start to give your body what it requires. In chiropractic, we have a major premise, and hopefully Dr. Ken can remember this off by heart. Chiropractic is not about ricking and flicking. It's not about clicking things and hoping that something's going to work. These YouTube videos make me sick. It's not about hearing a pop and another pop and another pop and another. It's not about that. There is a God, and he exists in everything. And he continually gives from himself. All of himself is given to you to give you this thing called life. And you have a wonderful life. You have a wonderful life. All the properties and actions, thus maintaining you in an existence. And I'm not thinking that God just made you to exist. I'm certain that this is not called a Thrivinar. We want to thrive. That is the reason that we're here. And there is a God, and he exists in you, and he gives everything of himself to make you alive. And if he is there to make you alive, that means you're starting to use it from today. So inside the body, there is this innate intelligence, and that innate intelligence knows how to control each and every part of your body. That innate intelligence not only knows how to control each and every part of your body, but knows how to direct you, that knows how to drive you, that knows how to show you where you're going. But you got to touch in, you got to access. And as you access, so can God access you. And B.J. Palmer was the second chiropractor. His father was D.D. Palmer, and B.J. Palmer was an incredibly philosophical person. And he wrote many books, and one of his books is called The Bigness Within, the bigness of the fellow within. And in my office, as you walk down the corridor to get your adjustment, on the top it says, find your bigness within. And I want you to find your bigness within, because that bigness within not only allows your body to heal, but it allows you to use your problems for something greater. It allows you to use your problems to help somebody else, to help the world. And B.J. Palmer wrote this thing called the big idea. And the big idea means that if you get this to work, you can then control the function of a city, a country, a nation, and the world. And right now, I believe that we're under some interesting control. And I want to say now we need to do something different so that we can find that thing, that thing called greatness. So along my path, I've had some wonderful aha moments. And so please take them down. Make sure you think about them. Number one, I don't believe current healthcare models work. I'm not saying there is not a place for current healthcare models. There certainly is. If you cannot have a good night's sleep and you take some medication that knocks you out to have a good night's sleep, I think that is good. But let's make sure we understand that these current healthcare models are not doing two things. They're not allowing the body to heal, and they're not allowing you to use your problems for good. Healing comes from within. There is no person that's going to help you to heal other than yourself. And it's the most frustrating place when people come to see you and they haven't made the decision to heal. They haven't made the decision to heal at all. And number three, you need to find a practitioner that practitioners that works with your internal healing intelligence so that you can start to learn how to do that yourself. So let me teach you some neurological concepts. Number one neurological concept is cause and effect. You have to have a good sensory information to to get an appropriate motor response. This is how the body works. So everything that you do is about plugging information into the system. So every single day, you're plugging information in, whether you know it about it or not. That's why rituals, morning, lunchtime, evening rituals are so important. If you don't put the right information is going in no matter what. And that information can be good information or bad information. And then you're going to have this thing called an appropriate response. And in my office, we talk about 2 appropriate responses. Number 1, you're compensating. If you're compensating, you're digging the hole deeper. That means that you're not even surviving. The other appropriate response is adapting. Adapting means that you're climbing out. And so what we want to do is we want to get to a place where we give the right information from the body to the brain to get the body to work. And this cycle starts to move. This is the internal mechanics of the body. This starts to pump. This starts to move. And when this starts to move, you start to find what is your full level of health. Right. Next thing I'm going to teach you about is this thing called the reticular activating system. This part of your brain at the back of the brain makes you conscious of whatever you want to be conscious of. Now, when I say conscious, most people are not conscious because they haven't made that conscious choice. And so I ask you, what are you conscious of? When a lady falls pregnant for the first time, she suddenly sees how many pregnant people are around her. And she's like, oh, it's a pandemic of pregnant people. It's not a pandemic of pregnant people. You're just conscious of being pregnant. So now you're seeing everybody that's pregnant. When you hear a person speak about the word surviving, then every moment of the day, you're looking for the word surviving. So what are you conscious of? And if you're conscious of the right things, it's working for you. And if you're conscious of the wrong things, it's working against you. And then a lot of people, they sit in front of me and they say, man, it just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. Yeah, because you're not feeding in anything different. So you got to start today with that conscious choice, feeding in, feeding in. What are you going to feed in? What are you going to feed in? So let's jump forward. We all know, this is from Romans 8:28. We know that all things work together for the good of those that love God. And that's why I started with the major premise of chiropractic. I want you to understand that there is a universal being. There is a God, and he wants you to be great. He doesn't give you problems because you've done something wrong. He gives you problems because he wants you to be great. He wants you to work for his kingdom. He wants you to make amazing things happen, and so that you can bring people towards that. So you've got to sit back and you've got to start to have a look. And if you look through your life, and that's what I did at some point after my friend sat me down and said, you got to stop complaining. I went back and I had a look at all the things that happened in my life and looked at them and said, oh, now I understand. This has led to this. And that's the purpose of today's conscious moment. This led to this. And because of this, I was allowed to get to that point. So I want to ask you a massive question. What quality of life do you want? Why is your optimal health and happiness of benefit to the world? And I urge you to reach in. As you can see in this hand, this is a man's hand, and he's like, and this is God's hand saying, I want to touch you, baby. I want to give you that ET phone home shock moment. Come on now. And you just limp. Come on now. You got to reach in. You got to reach in. Is it going to be easy? No. And I can guarantee you every speaker on this call is never going to say, it's going to be easy. All you got to do is just sit there and it's just going to happen. It's not going to be easy, but you got to reach in. You got to reach in. And what are you going to start to seek? In the brain, there's only 2 options. You're going to try and avoid pain, or you're going to pursue pleasure. You're going to try and avoid pain, or you're going to pursue pleasure. And life is about the little things that allow you to move in that direction. But you got to do it consistently. I did it on Tuesday, and I'm going to do it next Tuesday. That's not consistent. That's not consistent. Don't brush your teeth every single day. And what happens? They're all going to fall out. And then you're going to say, but why did that happen? You just didn't do anything consistently. You got to be consistent. And that's where consciousness comes in place, is you say, all right, I'm going to start moving now. So this is how life is supposed to be. I am 42 years of age. I am fit and I'm fabulous. It's my beautiful wife. She gets more beautiful every single day. I cannot believe that this ugly oak here got to hook this good-looking chick. And the best part about it is my lighty, my son, in South Africa, we call them a lighty. Obviously, Joe, you know about it. Some other people on the call might know. This is my lighty, and he got my wife's good looks. How nice is that? He's got a little bit of my personality. But I mean, this is how life is supposed to be. And I'm telling you, through any challenge that you're going through, you can do it. You can do it. So I don't want to spend too much time with this, but there's a lot of things that have happened in my life that I can, give you the sad story. And I promise you, we're going to have some wonderful music in the background that, makes you all come to tears of all of the problems that have happened in my life. But I will tell you this one moment, and I'm sitting in the car with my son, and he said, Dad, yesterday at school, we were singing a song, and the song made me happy, sad. So I said to him, okay, what does it mean to be happy, sad? He said, when you're crying, but it's not crying because you're sad about something. You're crying because there's this wonderful feeling inside your heart that you just know that this is powerful. So I said, Bud, I said, that's amazing. And I'm sad. I don't remember what the song was that they were singing. But it reminded of me of when I was in grade 2. Can you imagine? It reminded me when I was in grade 2. And we also used to sing a song. And it was an old Christian hymn. And the tagline of the Christian hymn was to fill my world with love my whole life through. And I went, wow, this is now 30 years later. I have just had a defining moment, putting the pieces together. God was directing me all this time through all of the challenges so that I can understand what it is to feel pain, so that I can understand what it is to feeling love. So my question to you is, what about you? What is your life assignment? I am done. I hope you had a great time. I hope you enjoyed the ride. I'm here for some questions. And because there's only 10 people on the call, I'd love to ask you what you learned, or if you want to interact, if you want to ask something, that'll be great, if that's allowed, Joe.
Yes, let's keep it quick because we're going to be going on to our next speaker, but you were absolutely magnificent, Dr. Travis. Thank you so much. Are you a comedian too?
I think I'm funny. If you ask my wife, she'll tell you that I'm not funny, but I think I'm funny. There's two things that I'm really good at is when I'm singing, I sing with my earphones on and I'm amazing, but I can imagine that people listening to me think that I'm terrible. But also, I love my jokes. I laugh at my own jokes all the time. And for me, if you can't laugh, I don't know what you're going to do. And there's a wonderful lady. I got to introduce you. I can see you. Her name's Diane Rodriguez. She's called the Laughter Lady, and she does laughter therapy. And I just think it's just amazing. Just amazing. And I can see a couple of other people that I know on this call. So I'm so grateful, man.
Well,
Thank
Travis,
you. Go ahead, Dr. Ken.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just have heartfelt appreciation for what you just shared. You have no idea. I felt like I was listening to myself when I was 28. So it's nice to know what's coming for me is that the younger generation, you are picking up the baton and carrying the message forward, because everything you said is spot on, 100% true. I just loved your enthusiasm. You're on fire with God. That's what the word entheos means. And I am so proud of how you represented chiropractic to this audience, because what he has just told you folks is the real chiropractic. It's not a body and fender treatment plan. It's helping people to remember who they are, why they're here, reconnecting the head and the heart. The intention of the adjustment, as he will tell you, was to unify spiritual and physical man. That's why chiropractic came into being. It was a channeled expression through the Palmer family. So Travis, I want to continue this conversation with you offline. We're going to have some fun together, and I'll make you aware of many other things that are happening here in the States that you could participate in. We have lots of things going on, and we'd love to have you contribute. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, Dr. Ken, I just saw that you sent a message, and I'm going to contact you. And I'm so excited. I am so excited. And this is what it's about. It's about connecting and making a difference in this world. So Dr. Ken, I thank you so much for that. That's great.
Dr. Travis, thank you again. I have not had the pleasure of meeting you before today, but it was such an honor to be with you. And for me, I love laughter, and you incorporating humor into your impactful, inspiring message actually helps people to remember it, and it creates an anchor in our brain. So thank you for your wisdom, thank you for your humor, thank you for your talent, and we look forward to connecting and doing some amazing stuff together in the future. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for this platform. It was wonderful, and I mean, you guys held space amazingly. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Feel free to stay on, and we're going to move on to our next speaker.